Hello, everybody. Genesis 7. Entering the ark. Verse 1. And the Lord said unto Noah, Come thou and thy house into the ark, for thee I have seen righteous before me in this generation. Let's stop right there. We are all now. We know we're in the ark. Anybody who believes in Jesus, we're in Jesus' ark. We're betrothed to him. We will be the bride when the time comes. And we are betrothed to Jesus. We are in his ark. All you have to do is believe it in your heart, profess it with your mouth, and you are saved. Now, there's a lot of interesting comparisons here. The Lord is telling Noah, he's inviting him. He says, come and go into the ark. And you got to remember something. You got to remember that he spent a lot of time building this ark, right? What is that, 120 years? He was 600 years old when he went in, when the Lord told him to go in. 120 years, all the people around him had the chance to try and make themselves right with God, and they didn't. And out of all of them, what happened? There were only 8. And a very interesting fact. The word for boat in Chinese is a combination of 8, of the number 8, and vessel. 8 in a vessel. It's right inside, one inside the other. And that is fact. Okay. So anyway, here we go. We're moving on. By the way, 120 years he was quite the carpenter, wasn't he? Moses was quite the carpenter. Well, is there a carpenter more than, anywhere that could compare to Moses? Well, of course there is. Look in Mark 6. In Mark 6, verse 3, what did they call Jesus? Is this not the carpenter, the son of Mary, the brother of Shimon, and all that? So, Jesus was a carpenter. I think God likes carpenters. So here we go. Verse 2. And we're talking now about all the animals. And there's even contention about how the animals work. Well, 7, it says, and 7, and then by 2s. So they're saying, well, it's 7 times 7, it's 49. It could be this, it could be that. Well, no, I take it literally. And if you actually read the English language the way you're supposed to read it, as it's written the proper way, you're going to see of the unclean beast, he said 2 of each, and of the clean beast, he said 7 of each. So here we go. Of every clean beast, thou shalt take 3 by 7. Take to thee by 7s. So of every clean beast, thou shalt take to thee by 7s, the male and his female. Now he switched. And of beasts that are not clean, by 2, the male and its female. So that to me says 7 of the clean ones, and we don't know how it was divided, 3 males, 4 females, 4 males, 3 females. We don't know. Some people surmise that one was for sacrifice. Maybe, I don't know. But I'll say this. It's pretty evident in that verse that there's 7 of the clean and 2 of the unclean. And not to say it's 7 by 2 and combining it and making it into 49. This is all, doesn't make sense. That does not make sense. When you read it the way it's supposed to be read, 7 clean and 2 unclean. It's very evident. Verse 3, of fowls also of the air by 7s, the male and the female, to keep seed alive upon the face of the earth, upon the face of all the earth. For yet 7 days I will cause it to rain upon the earth, 40 days and 40 nights. And every living substance, not just creatures, substance that I have made, will I destroy from off the face of the earth. Now, you realize something here. When he says destroy, it's not, think of this. All the wicked people, you think that they were just destroyed and stopped existing? No. Their spirits went on, their souls went to hell. It says off the face of the earth, off the living, the flesh. So in other words, all these spirits of these people, where they ended up going, like where everybody else went, right? That is wicked and will go. But that being said, well, what about all the animals that, that landed up being destroyed? Well, that will be a question for God that I'll have when I get to heaven. Where did all those spirits go? Because obviously, for anything to be alive, they have the Spirit of God in them, right? The Spirit of God is a living God. He's the only living God. Life is in God. God creates life. God creates life, and God takes away life. But there is that spirit of all those animals. Well, where did it all go? I'm gonna get that question answered for me when I'm up there, when I'm in the presence of the Lord. Someone's gonna answer me. Somebody who's got that understanding. And verse 5, and Noah did according to all that the Lord commanded him. So he did everything he asked. And Noah was 600 years old when the flood of waters was upon the earth. And Noah went in, and his sons, and his wife, and his sons' wives with him into the ark because of the waters of the flood. Of clean beasts, and of beasts that are not clean, and of fowls, and of everything that creepeth upon the earth. There went in two and two unto Noah into the ark. So I said, you understand what it's saying there? They came two by two unto Noah. They were coming. God sent them into the ark, the male and the female, as God commanded Noah. And it came to pass after 7 days that the waters of the flood were upon the earth. Now, people say rain. We're going to see in this chapter. Well, you know what? I'm going to wait till I get to it. It talks about the fountains of the earth being shut up. Now, I'm just going to continue on, and when I get to that, I'm going to go back to Genesis 1 to show you something. So now it came to pass after 7 days that the waters of the flood were upon the earth. And now we're touching on the flood. In the 600th year of Noah's life, in the second month, the 17th day of the month, the same day were all, here it is, were all the fountains of the great deep broken up, and the windows of heaven were open. So understand something here. It says the fountains were broken up. Let me just get to the translation of this, because this gets really interesting. Okay. So the same day, well, hang on a second here. Okay, it's at 11. In the 600th day of Noah's life, the 17th day of the month, the same day were all the fountains of the great deep, right, broken up. So now, the fountains is exactly that, a spring, a fountain of the great deep, great meaning many, great, many, right? Great, deep, this is the abyss, okay? It says could be sea, but deep. It means also the abyss. And it says broken up. Well, what does that mean? Broken up. The word is baka actually is pronounced. To cleave, to break open or through. So now, what does that mean? The fountains were broken up. The springs were broken up. There are tectonic plates in the crust of the earth that are constantly moving around. Well, I'm not so sure it was always like that. There are scars at the bottom of the ocean that show these tectonic plates. And there's proof. There are scientists that study this, and there's proof that during this great deluge, which many even unbelievers believe happened, as you can see, look at like I just said about the Chinese word for boat. It's a vessel of 8. There are so many things that prove that the flood happened, and we're going to get into that too. But there's a theory that these tectonic plates were crushed, and this is a theory. There's no real scientific proof. There are some things that allude to it, as I'll get to. But there, that these things were the pressure, that there was a crack that happened that started cracking and breaking, and like it said, cleaved, cut open all around the earth, and that the pressure made the water under the crust of the earth fly out. Now, let me go back to Genesis 1 for a minute. You say, well, how's that possible? What are you talking about there? So Genesis 1 says here, the second day, the firmament. And God said, let there be firmament in the midst of the waters, in the midst of the waters. Let it divide the waters from the waters. So now you got waters above and you got waters below. The firmament is what? The heavens, right? The firmament is an expanse. The word is rakia, to extend a surface, an expanse. So you have water under the firmament and water above. It says, let divide, the waters are divided here. Let divide, and God made the firmament and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament. And it was so. So, was it just the rain that came? I don't know. I don't think so. The water came from everywhere. And like I say, it's and scientists do speculate that there was, it was different back in the day, and we know for a fact here. If you look at, I'm going really down a rabbit hole here a bit, but there was a woolly mammoth. There were many full carcasses found of woolly mammoths intact with flesh on them and all that. But there's one particular one, and that's the Berezovka mammoth that they found in 1901. And they say it died in a landslide. Well, it wasn't frozen back then. It froze after, and they say, oh, it's prehistoric, blah, 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 whatever. The bottom line is that animal was found with broken bones. And, yeah, maybe it did die in a landslide. The landslide from receding waters. We'll get into that more in a minute. But that animal died. It had food. It was frozen suddenly in ice because it had something to the tune of 24 different plant lives in its stomach, and it still had food, plant life in its mouth. And it's not like that it was like preserved. So this thing was found with broken bones with food still in its mouth. So, you'll get the scientists saying, oh, well, it died in a landslide. Well, hang on a second. How did it get, frozen so quickly? It basically was frozen instantly. And, the creationists will give you the idea that the fountain spewed up into the heavens and where it's cold and then came down in certain areas in chunks of ice, right? Anyway, that's a whole other story. Let's get back to 7. So, like I say, the waters were definitely separated here, right? And now I'm having a hard time with my eyes. Father, help me out here, Lord, in Jesus' name. Thank you. So, and the rain was upon the earth for 40 days and 40 nights. Okay. And the windows of heaven were open and the great deep was broken up. So there's waters from 2 sources. And now we can move on. Verse 13. In the same day entered Noah. So the same day, obviously before this really started taking off, right? In the same day, entered Noah and Shem and Ham and Japheth, the sons of Noah, and Noah's wife, and the 3 wives of his sons with them into the ark. They and every beast after his kind, that species, right? That's what it means. And basically the Bible says after his kind. You have micro evolution, but no evolution ever switched from kind to kind. And that, the evolutionists will say, yeah, there was, this and that changed. Dogs started swimming a lot and then landed up going and growing and becoming whales. That's the ludicrousy that they will teach you. But here it says every beast after its kind, its species, and all the cattle after their kind, and all the creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth after his kind, and every fowl after his kind, and every bird of sort. And they went in unto Noah in the ark, two of them, and two of all flesh, wherein is the breath of life. So the breath of life, you understand, the breath of life is got the Spirit of God. God is a living God. He's the only God that can create life, and that he's the only God that is the living God. Everything else that call themselves God, they're dead. They're dead. You know, the fallen angels, they're dead. They're just, that's it. They're done. They will be tormented in a lake of fire. There's no life in them. They can't create life. Only one God can create life. And you have the breath of life in you. And that is God's Spirit. 16. And they went in, and they that went in male and female of all flesh, as God had commanded him, and the Lord shut him in. The Lord shut him in. He didn't close the door. The Lord shut the door, right? Just like the Lord will shut the door when the time comes, when he says to Jesus, because nobody knows the time nor the hour, right? When he says to Jesus in Revelation 14, now the angel comes out of the temple. Now is the time. That door is going to be shut. Know that, that for all that on your mind you, listen, I got to say this, that there will still be people being saved after the rapture. But the door of that rapture right there, the harvesting of the earth, will be shut. And the flood was 40 days upon the earth, and the waters increased and bare up the ark, and it was lift up above the earth. We'll get into the measurements here. We're going to compare. And the waters prevailed and were increased greatly upon the earth, and the ark went upon the face of the waters. 19. And the waters prevailed exceedingly upon the earth, and all the high hills that were under the whole heaven were covered. 15 cubits. Now, a cubit, I think there was some discussion. We mentioned that how big a cubit is. It varies between 1.4 feet and 1.75 feet. And even the Roman cubit was actually as big as 3.9. But if you take it in the Hebrew, in the Hebrew sense of the Bible, it's probably somewhere around, you go between the two, around 1.5 feet, right? 1.5 feet. So 1.5 feet is times 15 times 1.5 is like 27 feet. 15 cubits upward did the waters prevail, and the mountains were covered. So the waters were at least 27 feet higher than the tallest mountain. That's a lot of water. Okay. And the high hills, and were under the whole heaven, and were covered. And all the flesh, this is 21, and all the flesh died that moved upon the earth, both of the fowl and of the cattle and of beasts and of every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth, and every man. All in whose nostrils was the breath of life. All of that was in the dry land died. Now you remember something. There's a point to make here. All that was in the dry land died. So you understand that he didn't have to bring fish, right? He didn't have to bring fish into the ark. There are fish that are survived. Now, as far as whales, there are whales that survived, but there are whales that didn't survive, and we're going to get into that in a minute. And all flesh died that moved upon the earth, both of the fowl, of the cattle, and of the beast, and every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth, and every man, all in whose nostrils was the breath of life. All of that was in the dry land died. And every living substance was destroyed. Substance, let's look that up for fun. Yekum, substance, existence. So, including the plant life that was on dry ground. Anything that was on dry ground lost life, right? Yeah, hang on a second. and the waters prevailed exceedingly, 15 cubits. I lost my spot, that's why you have to forgive me. All in whose nostrils had the breath of life, once again, the Spirit of God. Oh yeah, here. And the fowls of the heaven, they were destroyed from the earth, and Noah only remained alive. Did I miss something here? All the flesh had died. I want to make sure. Every living substance was destroyed, which was upon the face of the ground. Important, not the earth, the ground. Both man and cattle, and the creeping things and the fowl of the heaven, they were destroyed from the earth. Notice it says from the earth. It doesn't say out of existence. It says from the earth. And Noah only remained alive, and they that were with him in the ark, and the waters prevailed upon the earth 150 days. 150 days plus the 40 days of raining makes 190 days, makes what? Like, no, 150 days plus 40, yeah, it's like 190 days. It's like, it's like what, 7 months, a better part of a year. More than half a year, anyway. Now, I want to get into this. Here are some of the things that are unexplainable other than believing that there was a catastrophic flood that covered the earth. They have found piles and piles of whale bones in the deserts. And you'll hear the argument, yeah, well, all deserts at one time, millions and millions of years ago, were seas. No. They're in valleys. You understand that there's a place even called the Valley of Whales. I think it's in Egypt. Don't quote me on it. You can Google it yourself. So the Valley of Whales, they found full skeletons of whales, and then tons of bones all grouped up. And you'll hear, oh, well, whales all go to the same place to die. Yeah, baloney. When the waters receded, they were trapped in between the mountain ranges. It's a valley. And what happened? Eventually, the water completely receded, and they died being out of water, being out of their habitat. You find dinosaur bones all grouped up into the same places. You'll find, here's the best one, and they're still finding them today. I just read November 21st, this guy found one up on 80 at an elevation, I don't know what mountain. Google it, you'll find it. 8,300 feet up. He found a sea fossil. There are sea fossils being found, and were found and being found still all over the world. Imagine, at 8,300 feet, how does a sea fossil get up there? It's because there was water above it and then it receded. That's why. It's so, the people, they just can't accept, the truth. They're blinded. They're blinded by the God of this world. All this science baloney, they all have their, well, no, it's probably because of this or possibly because of this. Well, no. Well, you explain to me how it's so common to find sea fossils on mountains that they literally sell them as mountain souvenirs. When you go up to some of these high mountains, like at the when you go to see Everest and all that, they literally sell them as mountain souvenirs. It's crazy, and there's so many proofs, like Pastor spoke about, that in all, like from the commentary, in all the other civilizations, and I mean that are not necessarily God believing, that all the other religions, there's always something talking about a great flood. Even in the I believe in the, what is it, the Sumerian, whatever they call it again, I forget. I mean, it's there. It's all over the place. They talk about a great flood, And what gets me is these proofs of things like, sea fossils on mountains and whole whale skeletons by the dozens being found, in valleys, So all this to say that I truly believe God's word for word, the way it is. And I truly believe that the ark is still open for anybody that we get to go out and speak to them about Jesus. And I know there are people that, it's a funny thing. a funny thing. The pastor just said, you get tired of people, just, refusing but I'll tell you what, I can remember a day back around 1996 when a friend of mine who I'm in contact with after many years again came to me and he started preaching Jesus to me. He says, there's one way out of this. He says, it's Jesus. I found something, Jesus. You know what I said to him? I don't want to know. I said, I don't want to know. But look at me today. Thank you, Father in heaven, for saving me. Thank you, Lord. So never give up. Never give up. Lift them up all the time. Doesn't matter. People in your family, well, I'm experiencing that right now. Pastor Charlie's experiencing it, but you know what? Don't give up faith. Don't give up faith. My daughter, I've been praying. My daughter's back in contact with me, and you know what? I'm gonna let her find her way. And I know that but I just keep praying, Lord, destroy the works of the devil in her life, and lift up Jesus every chance you get, because the ark is still open. And then that day will come when it gets to be shut, and we'll all be up there in that multitude that no one can number. But I will say this: God is so merciful, and gives you us all so much grace, that even after all that, during the wrath of God that's going to be on this earth, they'll still have the choice. So I say, God bless you all. I hope I opened I hope I opened some people's minds as to some of the things that, how even the unbelievers believe in the flood and all that. And I really truly believe that, God's word, every word is true. So go out and lift them up. And for all you who are listening on the internet, well, God bless you all, and may you all come to the saving knowledge and grace of our Lord and Savior. In Jesus' name, amen.